Have you ever wondered if the chill running down your spine in a seemingly empty room is more than just a draft? Ah, the enigma of the paranormal, a realm that teeters on the edge of our understanding, a sphere that's as fascinating as it is frightful. Throughout history, across cultures and around the globe, tales of specters and spirits have been spun. These are no mere bedtime stories to give children a thrill, but deeply ingrained beliefs that have shaped societies and civilizations. In some cultures, ghosts are considered ancestral spirits offering guidance from the beyond. In others, they're seen as tormented souls, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. The concept of ghosts and paranormal activities is as varied as the world's myriad cultures. There's the Bhoot of South Asia, a spirit that can't find its way to the afterlife. In the West, we have tales of poltergeists causing mischief and mayhem. Then there are the haunting Japanese yurei, spirits kept from a peaceful afterlife by intense emotions or unfinished business. But it's not just about the chill in the room or the shadows in the corner of your eye. The paranormal realm extends far beyond, encompassing phenomena like Ouija boards, mediums, and even extrasensory perception. These experiences, often dismissed as mere superstitions, have endured the test of time, hinting at a truth that lies just out of our grasp. So, what does science have to say about all this? As it turns out, plenty. Over the years, researchers have delved into the heart of these mysteries, seeking to separate fact from fiction, the explainable from the inexplicable. They've explored the psychology of fear, the power of suggestion, and even the physics of cold spots. Our journey today takes us into this fascinating intersection of science and the supernatural. We'll investigate the cold spots that make your hair stand on end, the strange noises that break the silence of the night, and the apparitions that appear when you least expect them. If you've ever felt a cold spot or heard a strange noise, you might be intrigued by what science has to say about it. Ever walked into a room and felt an unusual, unexplained cold spot? You're not alone. Many have experienced this, and it's often linked to the paranormal. But hold on, before you call the Ghostbusters, let's delve into the science behind these cold spots. Temperature, as we know, is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a system. When we say something is cold, we mean that the particles have less kinetic energy and are moving slower compared to when something is hot. So when you walk into a room and suddenly feel a cold spot, it means that there's a localized area where the particles are moving slower. Now let's think about what could cause this. The most common explanation is the presence of a draft. A draft is simply a current of cool air, often caused by a difference in pressure or temperature between two areas. For instance, if there's a window or door slightly open, cooler air from outside can rush in, causing a draft. This cool air can then mix with the warmer air in the room, creating a pocket of cooler air, a cold spot. Another possible explanation is a lack of insulation. Insulation works by slowing the transfer of heat. If a room or a part of a room is poorly insulated, it can lose heat more quickly, leading to cold spots. This is especially noticeable in older buildings where insulation might not be up to modern standards. There's also the possibility that the cold spot is caused by a piece of furniture or an object that's absorbing heat. Materials like metal or stone can absorb heat from the surrounding air, creating a cooler area around them. So while it's exciting to think that a sudden chill might signal a spectral visitor, the reality is often more mundane. The science behind cold spots is rooted in the principles of thermal dynamics and heat transfer, and they're usually caused by drafts, lack of insulation, or heat-absorbing objects. So next time you feel a chill, it might not be a ghostly presence but simply a draft from a window. Many claim to have seen apparitions, but what if it's just our eyes playing tricks on us? A bold question to start with, isn't it? But that's exactly what we're here to explore. Now, when we talk about apparitions, we're referring to instances where people believe they've seen a ghost or spirit. But could there be a more scientific explanation behind these sightings? Let's delve into the world of neuroscience and psychology to unravel this mystery. Our brains are remarkable organs. They're wired to recognize patterns and make sense of the world around us. This innate ability is known as pattern recognition. It's an evolutionary trait that's helped us survive, allowing us to quickly identify threats or opportunities in our environment. However, this same ability can sometimes lead us astray. You see, our brains are so good at finding patterns that they can sometimes create images from random data. This phenomenon is known as pareidolia. It's the reason why we sometimes see faces in clouds, or why we might see a figure in the corner of our eyes when it's just a coat hanging on a door. In dim lighting or uncertain situations, our brains try to make sense of the limited data available. It fills in the gaps, often leaning on our fears and expectations. If you're in a supposedly haunted house, your brain is primed to see ghosts, so that fleeting shadow or indistinct shape can easily be interpreted as a spectral figure. There's also the power of suggestion at play. If someone tells you a place is haunted, you're more likely to interpret ambiguous situations as supernatural. You're expecting to see a ghost, so your brain obliges. This doesn't mean that every apparition sighting can be explained away by pareidolia and suggestion, but it does offer a scientific perspective that encourages us to question and explore. After all, understanding our world and ourselves is a journey that never ends. So it seems that our brains might be the real culprits behind these ghostly sightings. Ever heard a bump in the night and convinced yourself it was something paranormal? Let's delve into the science behind those strange noises that can send a chill down your spine. Sound, as you may know, is a type of energy made by vibrations. When an object vibrates, it causes the air particles around it to move, creating waves of pressure that travel out in all directions. These waves can bounce off walls, furniture, and other objects, creating echoes and distortions that our ears might interpret as something entirely different. Consider an old house, for instance. As the temperature changes throughout the day, the building's materials expand and contract. This can lead to creaking sounds or sudden pops. These are entirely natural phenomena, but in the quiet of the night, they can sound like footsteps or unexplainable bangs. But what about when you're sure you heard a voice, yet no one else is around? That's where the power of suggestion comes into play. Our brains are pattern-seeking machines, always trying to make sense of the information they receive. This is a survival mechanism helping us identify threats in our environment. But sometimes this can lead to false positives. If you're watching a scary movie or you're in a supposedly haunted house, your brain is primed to expect something spooky. So when you hear a random sound, your mind might interpret it as a whisper or a moan, even though it's just the wind howling through a crack in the window. This phenomenon is known as pareidolia, where we perceive a specific, significant pattern in something vague or random. It's the same reason people see faces in clouds or hear hidden messages in songs when played backward. So, the next time you hear a strange noise, before jumping to conclusions, remember it might just be your house settling, or perhaps your mind playing tricks on you. After all, science often has a less eerie explanation for those bumps in the night. We've journeyed through the chilling cold spots, the deceptive apparitions, and the mysterious noises. What have we learned? Well, we've discovered that the science behind these seemingly supernatural phenomena is actually quite tangible. The spine-tingling cold spots that people often associate with ghostly presences can be explained by natural causes such as drafts, poor insulation, and sudden changes in temperature. They are not necessarily the ethereal calling cards of the departed. We've also looked at apparitions and found that they are often more than meets the eye. In many cases, they can be chalked up to the brain's tendency to find patterns where none exist, a phenomenon known as pareidolia. From the shadows in your bedroom to the face on the moon, our minds are experts at creating images out of randomness. Moreover, we delved into the enigma of strange noises, revealing the power of suggestion. When we are primed to hear something, our brains can trick us into believing we've heard it, even when there's no sound at all. This auditory illusion, known as auditory pareidolia, often fuels ghostly tales of whispers and eerie sounds in the night. Yet, the most crucial takeaway from our exploration is the importance of critical thinking and the scientific method when examining such claims. It's easy to let our imaginations run wild with thoughts of the paranormal, especially when we're in a spooky setting. But by applying critical thinking and the scientific method, we can sift through the fear and superstition to find the logical, scientific explanations hiding beneath. In sum, though the science of ghosts may debunk many of our ghostly tales, it doesn't render them any less intriguing. On the contrary, understanding the science behind these phenomena only adds another layer of fascination to the enigma of the paranormal. The world of the paranormal might seem less spooky when viewed through the lens of science, but it doesn't make it any less fascinating.